My name is Polly Persechino and I'm Head of Economy, Skills and Employment at the South London Partnership. The South London Partnership is a voluntary collaboration of 5 South London boroughs of Croydon, Sutton, Merton, Kingston, Richmond, and for this project we include Wandsworth, and we support the boroughs to work together collectively on strategy and policy and programme delivery. The Retrofit Skills Challenge for South London has been funded by the Greater South East Net Zero Hub, and the idea of the programme is to improve the supply of retrofit skills across South London, to engage the future talent pipeline of workers and to make sure that the existing workforce have the training and expertise they need to decarbonise homes across South London, and that we really amplify the economic growth and development benefits for South London businesses and for our residents. The Retrofit Skills Plan is really important to us in South London, and it really has enabled us to bring all our partners and beneficiaries together to ensure that they play an influencing role in developing the curriculum, so developing the skills set, but also delivering and supporting the access to skills. It's allowed us to identify challenges and try collectively to unblock those challenges that have prevented people from accessing skills support, but also has allowed us to help the industry, so big organisations and SME in the construction sector, work with our educators to develop skills provision that meets their demand and the industry as a whole. So we're looking at the evidence base in order to enable us to develop curriculums that are not only responsive to demands at the moment, but also are looking at the future and how we support the future development of the construction and the built environment sector. It's also really allowed us to explore commercial opportunities and supporting our businesses in South London to have the commercial and competitive edge, and to support us to drive the growth of those businesses and economic growth across South London. So one of the biggest challenges that we've identified through the process of developing our Retrofit Skills Plan, that's been communicated both by our educators and the supply chain, so our small businesses and larger businesses, is the demand from consumers. And they want to ensure that their investment in skills, both as a business, so investing in their staff or them as individuals, and our educators investing in their teaching staff, investing in their infrastructure, is demand led. So they want to know that there's a consumer demand, and they want to know that they're going to get value for money. So anything that they develop, deliver, or get training for will enable them to either grow their business or grow their learner base. So the government plays a really vital role in developing policy and legislation that will drive some of these changes that we need in order to kickstart retrofit and decarbonisation. However, there are other external factors that are really playing quite a big role at the moment. So the cost of living and the cost of fuel crisis, which is really looking and is starting to change consumer behaviour across the patch. So we're now starting to see that demand increase. But I think we all have a role to play in creating the right conditions for investment, not just in skills, but investment in decarbonisation. And all our stakeholders have a role to play in how we support the development of retrofit and retrofit skills across South London. So it's no secret that the construction sector has struggled to attract talent over the last few decades, and we've been hit with a dwindling workforce, in part due to Brexit and post-COVID, and we've also got an ageing workforce. So we know that we're going to see significant gaps in the future. So actually securing our talent pipeline is essential, not just for South London, but for the rest of the country. And how we attract that talent is going to be really important. I think given the decrease in construction workforce, it's had an impact then on wages. So as a result, it's driven up wages within the sector. So it's a really, it's a lucrative career prospect for young people. But we need to get over the stigma of muddy boots and hard hats, because it's not all muddy boots and hard hats. And actually our young people have a really important role to play in developing a more sustainable future, not just for our locality, but for the rest of the country. And so we need to really work together to encourage and change that language around construction and the language around retrofit. Actually, if young people want to have a big impact on changing our future and sustainability and changing the environment that we live in, then construction could be the career. So a lot of this is about language and messaging. In terms of policy incentives and making sure that roles are not low paid and insecure, then we need to work with the industry, particularly some of our larger construction organisations, to make sure that opportunities that we're creating are sustained beyond the duration of a piece of work or a big investment piece in one locality. But also we use the tools that are available to us. So we provide apprenticeship opportunities so people get the skills and the transferable skills so they're able to move around if they want to. I think one of the key barriers to encouraging people to take up retrofit is actually understanding what retrofit means. So we have a very big knowledge development piece to do, not just with our residents, but with people who might be considering working in the industry, but also people who are working in the industry. What does retrofit actually mean to them? And how can retrofit benefit their business, or how retrofit can benefit an individual, making sure that they've got the skills to take the jobs that we know are coming down the pipeline. I think, again, we all have a key responsibility in promoting these opportunities. So working with schools and school teachers to make sure that they're talking about retrofit and future jobs and future careers. We know that 65% of 16-year-olds at the moment will work in jobs that we don't know actually exist. So we know that there are new jobs coming down the pipeline. So ensuring that our teachers have that broad and good understanding. Similarly, within further education, higher education, making sure that we're talking to the key influencers, so the key gatekeepers to our young pipeline, so they understand the opportunities that are coming down the line. And then I think businesses, local authorities have a real responsibility, so big construction firms and small SMEs, in supporting the development of knowledge and skills across the future talent pipeline, so they can talk to people about the industry, about how the industry is changing, and the key skills and the key jobs that we need to ensure that we can enable future development, and that future development is around working towards net zero, but also that retrofit and retrofitting the existing homes within London is equally as important, and how we make sure that we really communicate that influencing and important role that young people will play. South London Partnership recently commissioned a report that was developed by Dundee University and Whole Life Consulting, based on CITB data on interventions that will be required to support retrofit and the jobs that will be required to deliver those interventions. And in fact, we see the demand significantly, particularly in South London, around insulation and building enveloping skills, so ensuring internal insulation, floors and walls are sufficient to support alternative fossil fuel heating systems such as air source heat pumps. So actually insulation is one of the biggest. The other we're seeing is retrofit assessors and retrofit coordinators, and people that are equipped with the skills to be able to go into people's homes and advise on what's required to enable the decarbonisation of a home, and the project managers that will sit around that. The other thing is heat and ventilation technicians and plumbers. They'll be essential as we look at replacing boilers in the future. But also scaffolders, roofers who are responsible for installing solar energy, electricians who will be responsible for the engineering and the setup of this. So they're the key roles that we see that will be demanded through the decarbonisation programmes across South London over the next 10 years. So obviously we have a demand for skills and technical skills, so they'll be trade appropriate, and we require current trades and new tradespeople who are coming through the programme to have the essential skills required and be able to provide advice and guidance to consumers, to residents, to homeowners, to landlords who are thinking about the decarbonisation of homes. So they're the kinds of skills required, but we'll also require the transferable skills such as customer service, such as cross-sell skills, because they will play a vital part, particularly when speaking to residents. And I think in terms of the potential commercial opportunities for businesses, there was a report that was commissioned by City Investment in 2021, and it saw the investment opportunity in South London sitting at about 17 billion 2 or 3 years ago. So there is a huge commercial opportunity for our businesses. We want to make sure our businesses in South London have that competitive advantage and have that competitive edge, which is why we would like our businesses to really engage with that skills development programme, so they really understand what's coming up in the future, and they make sure that they harness the opportunities, particularly those commercial opportunities. So I think one of the major challenges is for businesses just not knowing where to go to find information and support to access the right skills. The skills and employment sector as a whole can be complex and difficult to navigate. And if you're a busy person with lots of things to do, trying to navigate the internet or trying to navigate with the training providers is really challenging. And we know that because we've spoken to business. So actually just accessing the information and finding out what you need to know as a small business particularly is really difficult. So what we're hoping to do through this programme is create a one-stop shop where businesses can come to find out how they can upskill themselves, how they can upskill staff, where they can access training, how they can access funding for that training if the training isn't funded, but also how we match them with training providers, with educators, so further education or higher education, so they can explore the options for them. And we really hope that through developing the knowledge of retrofit and decarbonisation and providing a one-stop shop where people can go for information and signposting, that we will really help to create a pathway for the businesses so they understand where to go to get new skills and what new skills they might need. So through the Retrofit Skills Challenge, we've been fortunate enough through our Retrofit Task Force to bring together lots of different practitioners and beneficiaries from industry, so from large employers to small employers, from higher education, further education, schools, local authorities, social landlords, private landlords, local authority housing officers, to make sure that we understand the pipeline of works, to make sure that we understand what occupations and what jobs people will need, so what interventions that will be needed to ensure that decarbonisation and retrofit happens within homes. So we've been able to create a really clear picture of what that skills and talent pipeline might look like to enable us to develop and support our FE and HE providers, particularly to develop a skills programme and curriculum. Obviously, technology changes quite frequently. So through this project, we are hoping to embed a culture where industry works intrinsically with the education sector to ensure that the skills provision and the curriculum development matches and reflects the demands of our employers. So we'll be trialling and testing new methods of engagement, but also supporting that through facilitation and making sure that our skills educators are matched with the correct people from industry. So what this programme has provided us with the opportunity to explore the skills provision and skills support around retrofit. But actually what we've identified through that programme is there's an amazing opportunity to look at more innovative collaborations that extend beyond retrofit. So the supply chain of retrofit is huge. It's not just consumers, it's not just the construction industry, it's not just local authorities, it's not just social landlords. So we will look at all avenues to ensure that we bring the most amount of influence onto this wider supply chain, and that it will, so this programme will further enable us to ensure that we set up partnerships and collaborations that deliver beyond retrofit. So the next steps for the Retrofit Skills Challenge, we have submitted a skills plan to the Greater South East Net Zero Hub. That plan makes up part of a Greater South East plan that's been submitted to Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. We're looking at getting that plan signed off within the next couple of weeks, and that will enable us to kickstart a series of events which will include looking at consumer demand and how we support consumers in their journey to net zero. We will be running an event that will have micro-credentials for small businesses and small construction firms who are interested in taking their first step towards net zero training. We'll also be running some skills pilots which will look at supporting insulation and a pre-boot camp for the industry, so technicians who are already working in the sector, as well as scaffolding for retrofit, roofing for retrofit, and retrofit assessors and coordinators skills pilots that will run across South London. So we have a series of events, as I say, running over the next few months, and we'd be really grateful and welcome to hear from any organisations or businesses who would like to get involved in either this task force, so helping to shape some more of the activity that we'll run for the rest of the year, or be involved in any of the events and any of the skills delivery that we've got coming up over the next few months.